Coming up next on the Wet Fly Swing podcast.
Flying to Amsterdam is quite cheap. You can fly from Amsterdam to almost every country in Europe. When I go to the United States, I never pay more than $500 for a return ticket. Also, it's quite safe to rent a car in the Netherlands. In 8 hours, you are in Denmark. In 12 hours, you are in the north of Italy. You can go actually wherever you want.
That was Bas Van Dam with a nice travel tip when flying to Europe. Sea run brown trout, Denmark, Italy, and van life today on The Swing.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today.
Hey, how's it going today? Thanks for stopping by the show. The School of Fishing. We do not have a trip to Europe set up right now, but we have a bunch of other trips you can check out right now. Schooloffishing.co, schooloffishing.co. Today's episode is sponsored by Dalton at Country Financial, who thrives on helping families and community members through the power of education and proper insurance coverage. The unexpected will happen, so it's always best to make sure your assets and life are protected. You can check out Dalton right now at wetflyswing.com/country and make sure you are protected today. By Drifthook, who has pre-packed fly assortments for every stage of your fly fishing journey. Check out their fan favorite nymph boxes that are hand-tied and inspected before being carefully packed into these durable, water-resistant boxes. Each kit is organized by species and includes instructional videos and easy-to-follow guides. Visit wetflyswing.com/drifthook right now and use coupon code SWING at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Bas Van Dam is here to take us around fly fishing Europe and how he has done this living out of his van in a place that we dig into that today. There's some differences, different parts of the country that allow this. This is pretty interesting. We get a bunch of great, huge tips like how to find cheap houses that you can stay at that are under the radar, what the Dolomites is like, and some of the other great resources you should be checking out when planning your next trip to Europe. Bus is living the dream right now, so excited to dig into this and find out how he does it. Here we go. Bas Van Dam at the Fly Tying Guy on Instagram. How's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm always, like you said, just before we got started, the names sometimes are a little, or your name is a little challenging because I feel like maybe you could pronounce it for us to make sure we get that right.
Yeah, it's Bas, and it's actually the shortest you can make from Sebastian. That's my full name.
That's right. And your Instagram, you're at the Fly Tying Guy, right?
I love fly fishing. I love fly tying. I tie for almost 40 years. And I just started also a little bit commercially tying flies and selling flies online. And I've tried to do a little bit on Instagram.
Good. Well, I wanted to throw that out there at the start because I think this is going to be a great episode covering basically Europe. You've been traveling around Europe in a van, and you're basically living out of the van doing that whole thing and hitting some spots that are probably a little less known. And we actually have people all around the world listening, not as many over in Europe, but I think this episode will be great for people, maybe for the person coming over the overseas that wants to fish, maybe doesn't have, doesn't want to do the lodge thing, but wants to travel, do some van life. So we're going to dig into that. Before we get there, take us back really quickly to how you first got into fly fishing. Then we'll take it into your van life and all the rivers you fished over there.
Yeah, I started fishing when I was 4 or 5 years old with my father. A little bit of spin fishing, things like that. And when I was 8 years old, my mother bought me a fly fishing set, a secondhand set, and my neighbor was a fly fisherman. So I started fly fishing when I was 8. Started traveling when I was 14, 15 years old. First time to the south of Germany and then to the chalk streams in the south of England and Denmark. So started quite early, young age.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you grow up?
In the Netherlands, basically everywhere in the Netherlands. I moved a lot. And the last 20 years in the south of the Netherlands, near Belgium and Germany.
Okay. And what were your parents doing? Why were you moving a lot when you were growing up?
My father is a doctor and he worked in a lot of places.
Gotcha. Yeah, so and I'm terrible with my European geography, but just kind of looking here. So Netherlands, yeah, I mean, you're right in basically just kind of adjacent to Germany, and then Denmark's up to the north of you. You got Norway, Sweden above that, and then you do have, yeah, I mean, the Ireland, well, you got the United Kingdom, and then you've got everything going there. What is that like? I mean, you've got driving around, you've got all the stuff connected, but what is it like getting out to more of the remote stuff? Like you said, going to the chalk streams. Is that a pretty easy thing to make a trip over there? And like if you were going to hit Germany and then go over to England, stuff like that, and fish, is it pretty doable?
Yeah, the main airport, London Heathrow, is really close to some of the famous chalk streams where all the fly fishing started. So the Test and the Itchen and the Avon. And because the fly fishing started there, I also wanted to start my fly fishing traveling in the south of England. A lot of fly shops there. You can find places to fish very easily. It's all day ticket water. It's quite expensive, but nice fishing, clear water, big, most stocked trout, brown and rainbow. Good hatches, dry fly fishing. That really traditional upstream dry fly fishing, and a lot of history.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's one of those spots, definitely getting to that part of the world and those traditional streams, right? You hear all about them. What's at 14, 15, so you started traveling. That was just basically traveling with your dad as he moved around, or were you kind of traveling, doing hitting different places?
Yeah, most with my parents, but also I was a member of a fly fishing club. And Hans van Klinken, the guy from the Klinkhamer Special, the Klinkhamer style flies, he invited some people from the fly fishing club to join him to coastal fly fishing in Denmark. That was pretty new when I was 16 years old, never heard about it. And actually, I fell in love with that kind of fishing. And I went to Denmark more than 50 times the past 30 years. So,
Wow, so Denmark, and that's one I wanted to dig into because I did want to touch on. There's a bunch of species we could talk about, but the brown trout, especially like sea run brown trout, is something that would be cool to talk a little more about. So we're going to touch on that for sure. And the Klinkhamer, that's interesting. Let's just go into, before we jump into that, because you're sitting there, you're in a van right now doing the van life. Let's hear just briefly on that. How did that start for you? Is that something that you have been doing a while?
yeah, I love traveling. I love holidays, but I started, we bought a van last year, started van life this summer, climbing and fishing all over Europe. So yeah, I'm in Greece now, in a small town called Leonidio. There's no fly fishing here, but there's a lot of climbing. So winter is more climbing, and the summers will be more fly fishing.
Oh, gotcha. Wow. So climbing, so those are your two passions, climbing and fly fishing, and now the van life. What's that been? You've gone on it. You started this summer. What's been the most challenging thing about it?
Sometimes the weather. We have a small van. It's a Ford Transit, and live in a small van with my girlfriend with bad weather can be challenging.
Oh, right. Just cold.
Yeah, cold, wet weather, and yeah, finding out where to get water and all things like that. That's also because everything is pretty new.
Yeah. Is it set up pretty good? I mean, we have a camper. It's not the same deal. We have one of those pull behinds, and over here there's quite a few places, RV places to take your thing. I mean, over there, is it set up for traveling pretty much, with the van sort of thing?
I think it's different from the United States. For example, we are in Greece, and actually, it's not allowed to stay in a camper here, except from campsites and things like that. But that's way too expensive. But yeah, here in Leonidio, because it's a climbing area and a lot of climbers live in vans, they allowed it in some places, and so it's okay. But in a lot of countries in Europe, you're not allowed to camp in the wild or stay somewhere on the parking place and sleep there. But it's okay. I mean,
So how do you get around that as you're traveling around? What's the tips there?
yeah, there's an app, Park for Night, and you can use it. And sometimes the police come and say, well, you have to move or you have to go. But they are quite friendly. And I think Europe get more used to van lifers. And
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Park with the number 4 night. Park for night, sharing cool places, camper. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to get a bunch of resources because I want to set this up for people that, maybe want to do this. So Park for Night is a good app for sure. So you could figure, and that probably looks like that's like maybe an international thing too. Looks like maybe that would work.
Yeah, we also use some climbing apps because all the climbing areas have parking places and they're used to van lifers. So that's also an easy place for sping.
So we might have to become, if we're heading over there, we might have to become maybe some climbers too. We'll get into climbing, and then that'll help us do the climbing, just like you, climbing and fishing. What's remind us again on the name of your camper that you're driving?
It's a Ford Transit.
Yeah, Ford Transit. Okay.
17 years old, and it was a wheelchair van before, wheelchair bus, and we converted it ourselves.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we call them over here like I guess we call them the Euro vans, but it's basically looks like one of those Mercedes type of thing, high ceilings.
Yeah, we have a pop-up roof, so it's not I can't stand in it without popping up the roof.
With the pop-up.
Yeah, but it's okay. I think for your standards, it's quite small. Most of your cars are bigger than our van, but it's...
Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. So we got a little taste of that. So let's dig into a little bit on the fishing. So if you came in, let's just start with Denmark, because you've been there, 50 times, a ton of times. If somebody was coming over, and flying in, let's just start there really quick because we want to get into some of this brown trout fishing. Where are they flying in? Let's just think they're flying in. They want to do Denmark, but they also want to maybe think of driving around a little bit around Europe. What's your recommendation? Where should they head into?
It's 500-600 miles from Amsterdam. So for you, it's pretty okay, I think. And it's quite easy to fly to Amsterdam and quite cheap. But you can also go to Copenhagen in Denmark. And that's only an hour drive from the island Fyn. And that's actually one of the best places to go fishing. And also there's a good fly shop and a good guidebook with 117 places where to find the sea run brown trout, or sea trout as we call them. Yeah, and it's coastal fishing, shallow coasts. Sometimes you can wait hundreds of meters from the coast. Sometimes you have some deeper water just at your feet. And there's 800-900 miles of coastline where you can find those fish. And it's kind of a puzzle to find them because they are not everywhere. You have to search for them and find the spots where the food is for the trout. And if you find those places, you can catch them.
And these are sea run. These are sea run browns.
Yeah. Actually, in the 80s, the government in Denmark started a project by cleaning the rivers and stocking actually the ocean with sea run browns. And it's an amazing fishery now. You catch more and more sea trout every year, and they get bigger. And it's 20-inch sea trout is not a real big one. The big ones are 30 or even 40-inch.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're talking big. That's the cool thing because, there's few places to catch the sea trout around the world, right? And I'm not sure if I've heard many people talk about Denmark, but I guess, any place on the coast, right, you probably have some opportunity around there. But Denmark, why is Denmark it's a hotspot probably because they've been planting fish there in that area for a while.
Yeah, and they cleaned all the rivers, so it's basically a wild fishery now. They don't stock that much anymore, but they started 40 years ago with stocking. The freedom you have there to fish, you pay a few dollars for a year to fish everywhere you want on the coast. And searching there, the island Fyn is from east to west a 1 hour drive, and from south to north also 1 hour drive. So you can search for fish in bays, go to deeper water, a little bit to the south, some to the north. There are other small islands where you can go to. You see a lot of birds. You can fish hours and hours without seeing other people, and you actually stay on the beach.
Oh, wow. So you're fishing off the beach?
Yeah, the bays are shallow with sandy, dark bottom. You can wade a lot there, and the farther you go to the deeper water, the more stones there are, with water plants and everything.
Gotcha. So you're fishing these fish, sea trout, their life history is kind of like a anadromous fish, right? They're heading out to the ocean or, to the ocean, the bays, the estuary, wherever to eat. And then they're migrating back into the freshwater. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly like a salmon, but the salmon is going far into the ocean. And yeah, the sea trout, they stay near the rivers where they came from. And they go back in autumn to the rivers to spawn. Yeah.
That's right. So there's a good question on timing. I'm glad you mentioned that. So, and I'm going to paint this, podcast as we're kind of the travel with the fly fishing because we got two big things going. But so if we're coming in and you mentioned Amsterdam would be a place you could fly into and then drive 600 miles, or you can go into Copenhagen and go directly there. But what would be the timing? Like if you wanted to, if one of your focuses was these sea run browns in Denmark, but then you also wanted to cruise around and maybe have the family do some traveling, right? What would be the best time to hit this for fishing?
For the fishing, spring and autumn. Most of the time I go in April. And maybe when you go with your family, May is a little bit better because the days are much longer. So you can fish a little bit in the morning and in the evening, and yeah, do some other things with the family during the day.
Yep. So May they're migrating. Are they kind of doing I'm just trying to get this thinking of the fish. So in April or in the other time they're coming in to spawn in May, are they like, what are the fish doing? Are you still catching them down there in the bays or are you hitting them up higher in the rivers?
It depends on the water. No, it's all fishing on the coast. So the river fishing there is a whole different story. Never done that, but it's also not necessary to find sea trout, because actually there's always sea trout, even in summer or in winter. But in spring and autumn, the fishing is really good. Sometimes it can be really hard to find them.
In the summer. Why is the fishing good? Why is the fishing really good in the spring and autumn versus say the summer?
The water temperature is much better. So water temperature around 40 degrees Fahrenheit is the best for the trout. So especially in spring, the shallow water is a little bit too warm. The deep water is a little bit too cold. So there's one spot where all the fish is coming together and you can find them there. And that's the spot you have to find. Depends on water temperature, on the shrimps and the bait fish and the things they eat, where they are alive and where you can find them.
Gotcha. So that's it. So basically it's just the water temperature is better in May. And then if you look May versus the fall, can that be really nice too? Is it still pretty good weather then?
Yeah, actually most of the time it's good weather. And actually the same again, the water temperature is going down and you will find one water temperature spot where you can find the fish. And in autumn, there's also a lot of fish that stays at one place. You see them in the surface time and time again, and they can be quite challenging to catch. Most of the time, it's bigger fish. But in autumn, you see a lot of sea trout in the surface, and that's also nice.
Okay, perfect. So that gives us some flexibility. So you got in autumn is kind of like September, October?
Yeah, even November is okay.
Oh, even November. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that fly shop? You mentioned a fly shop in the guidebook. Where was that shop?
Yeah, the shop is Go Fishing. It's in Odense.
Okay. Which country or city is that in?
Odense is a city in the middle of Denmark, on the island on Fyn, where all the fly fishing is.
Oh, okay. And how do you spell that?
Oscar Delta Echo November Sierra Echo.
Okay, Odense. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, good. So we got a good resource. So somebody could call that shop if they wanted to and get some information. Then also there's a guidebook there that would help.
Yeah, and Claus Eriksen is the owner of the shop, and he's one of the best fly fishermen in Denmark.
Oh, good.
And they have an info corner where you can find the places that are successful at that moment, and the flies and everything. They'll tell you everything, no secrets at all. It's really nice.
Oh, good. Good. So this is awesome. So now we got
Yeah.
a local fly shop, and we got a, yeah, if we're going into Klaus and today, let's see, I guess we're kind of wintertime. Yeah, if you're going in there today to ask him, like, hey, what would you recommend for fishing? What would he tell us today, you think?
It's winter, shallow water, bright flies, fishing them slow under the surface. But yeah, find those dark, shallow water places, especially because it's not that salty. Fish like that more. The combination cold and salt water is not the best combination for sea trout. So the places where a river is coming into the sea, they hang around there.
Today's episode is sponsored by Mavrk Fly Fishing. They make the lightest Euro nymph reel in the world, which makes your rod more sensitive, casting more accurate, and you can hold your dead drifts longer without the shoulder burn. This reel is so unique you may not even recognize it as a fly reel. I had a chance to fish the stinger reel with Jeff on his home river on the Truckee. The biggest thing that I remember is the weight. The weight really stuck out because you can't even barely tell there's a reel. It's essentially kind of like you're holding a rod all day long. I mean, it's that light, and when you're Euro nymphing, that is a key. And the other big thing I remember from that day was catching a fish on my first cast. Pretty cool to be down in that part of the country and have some great success with Jeff. Mavrk keeps things simple by offering a Euro nymph product line with essentials you'll need from rod, reel, fly line, and leader system. Euro nymphing doesn't have to be complicated, so let Mavrk Fly Fishing get you started right now. You can learn more by checking out Mavrk's YouTube channel for some tips and tutorials. And you can also head over right now to wetflyswing.com/Mavrk to check out the good stuff they have going. That's Mavrk, Mavrk, wetflyswing.com/Mavrk to support this podcast and take a look at one of the most unique and efficient Euro nymphing setups on the market. Okay, back to the show. And then if we're looking again, taking it back into the May when the water, May or the fall when the water's a little warmer, right? Better conditions. Talk about your setting up for that, like your gear. What are you using there for these fish, like rod and reel and line, stuff like that?
Yeah, I fish a quite stiff 9-foot 6-weight rod with a shooting head system, or a rear outbound line, slow intermediate with a 9 to 12 foot leader, around 10-pound tip. And yeah, flies is scrimp patterns. There's a pattern, it's called the Pattegrisen, or the pink pig. It's quite famous fly from Denmark. It's tied with spay hackles, pink spay hackles, but also yellow and green and gray. But 2.5 inch flies, so quite big, and also patterns like the Magnus. It's a palmered wet fly. Sometimes with most of the time it's gray. Sometimes with hot orange or bright pink hackle in front. Those are the flies. Yeah.
Pink and orange. So basically you're just imitating some of that food. Well, they're still even in the estuary kind of, right? Just coming out. So they're fresh off of their feeding in the salt water.
Yeah.
So when you have your line, you mentioned the intermediate. So basically you're not using super heavy lines. You're just kind of getting down below the surface a little bit, just enough, and then swinging it.
Yeah. Most of the time fish feed in the surface or near the surface. So it's nice to have an intermediate line because of the waves on the coastline. So you fish a little bit underneath the waves, so you have more contact with your fly. You feel everything and you feel the strikes. But basically, you fish 10-15 centimeters or 6 inch below the surface, and you strip quite fast with quite big flies, and then magic happens.
That's it. So how big are the flies you're using? Like what size are these?
Yeah, 2-3 inch.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically what I use most. Sometimes smaller, especially when there is not that much wind and the sea trout sees everything better.
Yeah. So you cast. So basically, you've got these. And are the rivers kind of coming in, or is it like tides are moving back and forth and pushing the currents?
There's not that much tide there. I mean, it's 5 inch, 10 inch tide difference. But yeah, it's fishing on the coast. You fish from the shoreline, from the beaches, close in. I mean, a lot of people try to cast as far as possible, but there's so much fish just beneath, just on the shoreline.
Like right out, like literally like 10 feet out or whatever, like 4 meters or something like that.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah. And so start fishing with short lines, and then go into the water, fish a little bit further, and try to cast over new water every time. So you walk a lot. It's cast a few steps, cast a few steps, cast a few steps.
Okay. And are you working downstream as you go?
Yeah, it's not stream. It's the
Oh, it's not even stream. It's just
yeah,
it's just water, just kind of right. I see. Okay.
yeah. It's literally in the ocean.
Yeah, you're in the ocean. This is like on a beach. The ocean is out in front of you.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, this is it. So you got waves. I mean, waves are kind of depending on the situation. Waves could be coming in at higher levels. Is there times when you get actually big waves through there coming into the beach?
yeah. Not much. I mean, there's not that much wind. As long as you can cast, the waves are okay. As the wind's too much to cast, then there will be waves. And you can always find a place, maybe on the other end of the island, where the wind is blowing from in your back, where you can cast.
Is there a video? I know you sent me some videos. Is there a video of you or something out there we could see kind of what this looks like?
Yeah, not from me, but the tourist information from Fien. They have a lot of good videos. And there's a good video on kanaalgratis.se.
How do you spell that one?
Kanaal Gratis. It's a Swedish fly fishing channel. The one with Nicholas Bauer. Maybe you heard about
Oh, Bauer. Yeah, Nicholas Bauer. Yep.
his channel. There's also some sea trout fishing.
Okay. Yeah, he's the what is his channel called?
Kanaal Gratis.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one I would not have been able to get.
He's the pike fly man. Amazing pike flies.
Yeah, he's the pike fly guy. Yeah, cool. Well, we'll put a link out to that. We'll get a link out to his stuff, and we'll take a look at some videos of just kind of some of the sea trout stuff. But yeah, I think we're kind of painting the picture. So you're on the beach, you're casting out not super far. And what are these fish doing? So why are they in close? Are they just coming in, feeding on their way kind of back and forth? Or how do you find fish? Is there structure? How do you know where to hit these fish?
They can be everywhere, but yeah, there are rocks and stones and water plants. Sometimes you have to find deeper water. Sometimes the shallow bays. So searching and actually finding those structures and finding places where you think that there will be bait fish, there will be shrimps. For example, I know a place where an old harbor is from 15 or 1600, so hundreds of years old. But the harbor is totally underwater now. But it's one of the best places because there is some structure under the surface. And if you find those places, if you search on Google Maps and you search the shoreline, you will find those places. You will find the dark places. You will find the structures. And also the guidebook. There's a guidebook with 117 places where to catch sea trout. All places have good parking places and good description when and where and how to fish. It's a really nice guide book to use when you are there the first time.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so that's it. And what was that guidebook? Remind us again on that one. What's that called?
It's 117 places to fish for sea trout. I think that's the name of the book.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. 117 places. Good. Well, let's see. What else should we be thinking about if we're planning a trip heading out there? We're going to be flying in. I guess that's the first thing, like a van. If you wanted to do this van, I mean, is that what you'd recommend? Obviously, you're doing it, but if somebody's going to come in and maybe spend a month traveling around there, is that pretty easy to rent a van and do that sort of thing?
That's possible, but one of the nice things about Denmark is that holiday houses are extremely cheap in spring and autumn. For $200, you have a four-person luxury house for a whole week.
Oh, wow. $200 for a whole week for a luxury house.
Yeah, for four persons, so
Wow.
that's actually quite good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
With a full kitchen and everything. Nice base camp to fish in different places.
So could you find that? Could you find one of those places near some of the fishing that you might be doing?
Yeah, also, if you go to a website from the tourist information from Denmark, there you will find it, because there are so many of those holiday houses, and they try to promote staying in those houses.
Oh, wow. And are these holiday houses, this isn't like a Airbnb, this is like a government sort of setup thing, or how's that work?
No, it's actually private, but I think because of the taxes, if you rent out your house, it's much cheaper with taxes in Denmark. I think that's the reason why they are so cheap in spring and autumn, because those people want to have a cheap house, summer house for themselves, but want to rent it out in spring and autumn. And there are so many that they are cheap. So that's a nice thing in Denmark.
That is nice. So you could do that and then maybe just even get just your normal rental car. That might even be easier to do, maybe cheaper instead of getting a van. Although the van, I'm sure there's some van rentals as well there.
Yeah, but staying in a van in Denmark in spring is quite hard because it's not allowed.
Oh, right. So that's one of those places where you can't do it.
So you have to go to campsites, and I think staying a whole week on a campsite with a camper van is the same price as a house.
Okay. So the holiday house would be the way to go. So go there.
Actually, the best option there. Yeah.
Okay. So good. And that's sweet. So you get a holiday house, and that's your base location. And then from there, you can just get a rental car and drive out and hit some of these spots. And then you were kind of talking about earlier on Denmark. So if you were doing the fishing, what else would people be doing over there other than fishing, kind of the family tourist stuff? There's some pretty cool other stuff to do.
Yeah, there are some nice towns, some nice cities. Hiking is a big thing there. It's quite flat, so there are no mountains, but hills. Cycling is a big thing there. Coastline is amazing. And for example, Denmark has a famous place when you have children is Legoland.
Oh, Legoland.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Things like that. There's enough to do in Denmark.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to hit Legoland. Okay.
It's a really nice country to have a holiday.
Oh, good.
Not that busy, actually.
It's not that busy. It's not as busy as, say, Germany?
No, especially the south of Europe, because of the better weather.
Oh, so Denmark's not quite right. So your weather isn't going to be quite the weather you're going to get down wherever, like where you're at right now in France or Spain or something like that.
Yeah. I'm in Greece now, and it's still around 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit here every day, and that's not in Denmark. There's snow at the moment, I think.
Yeah. So Denmark is up, near Norway. So that's the thing. So in the spring or fall, are you going to be able to get some pretty decent weather, or could it be a little nasty up there?
Most of the time, the weather is quite good. Most of the time, I have a lot of sunny days. Temperatures around 50 degrees, so not enough to stay on the beach and things like that. But for hiking and cycling and going to cities and fishing, it's amazing weather.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so that's Denmark, and that's up there, obviously up north. So as let's take us around on your tour. So where have you been going in your van? You guys have been going now since last year. Where are you at now, and where have you traveled from?
I'm in Greece now, in a town called Leonidio, but it's much more for climbing than for fishing because there's no fly fishing here. I look to the river now, but it's not it's only the river bed. There's no water in the river.
Oh, wow.
So no fishing. But I traveled from the Netherlands to here last few months.
Okay. So you went through Germany, Austria, somewhere through there.
And Italy.
Italy. Oh, yeah. You went through Italy.
Yeah, I love Italy. Italy is amazing.
Right. So you went through Italy, and then did you go to the tip of Italy and then cross like on a boat, or did you go up around?
Yeah.
You did. So yeah, you didn't go through. So Serbia, Croatia, stuff like that is maybe not quite as good of a trip to do.
That will be our next destination. We will go back, not to Italy, but Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia.
Oh, wow. And obviously you guys head down there now. It's wintertime, so it's warmer down there. What is Greece? Because you do hear about a lot about Greece from just cost of living again. Like it's not super expensive. Is that a place that would be maybe a good destination to head to if fishing wasn't your number one focus?
I think there's not that much fishing here. There's some trout in the north, but actually the Balkans and Italy it's much better for fishing than Greece. So Greece is not known for fly fishing.
Yeah, so Italy and the Baltic. And where is that when you think of? So Greece is one of those places, but we want to stay on the fishing topic. So
Yeah, I love the Dolomites in the north of Italy.
okay, north of Italy, that's Dolomites, and that is near what would be the? I'm just trying to see. Just kind of scan here. So this is north of Florence, basically.
Yeah, it's the south part of the Alps.
Oh yeah. You're south part of the Alps, right?
Mountains in the center of Europe. The south part in Italy, in the province called Trentino. It's called the Dolomites. Amazing, beautiful sceneries there, big mountains, a lot of streams and rivers, mountain lakes, a lot of fly fishing there, and a lot of different kind of fly fishing actually.
Yeah. Did you find in that area? I guess right now, I mean, that's definitely the weather-wise is going to be a lot nicer during the winter. Not quite like Greece, but still pretty nice up there.
There's snow at the moment. It's all winter sport there now, but from April till November, it's the weather is good enough for fly fishing, and the summers are warm. Temperatures around 100 degrees Fahrenheit are quite normal there in summer.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a huge thing. Obviously, Denmark seems like it's a little more. All these places are new, and you do your research. But if you were looking at this, telling somebody, "Hey, you got Italy, you got Denmark," I guess you're not going to have brown trout. So you run brown trouts in Italy down there.
No, but there is brown trout, there is rainbow trout, char, brook trout, and marble trout, and so a lot of different trout. And the nice thing, they are in different parts of the river. And there's grayling.
God, that's
Forgot the
cool.
grayling, but grayling is such an amazing fish.
Yeah, it is right. So this is the challenge because as you look around, you're thinking, okay, somebody is setting up to do maybe their first European trip, right? They want to do what we're talking. I mean, what do you tell somebody? What do you think if somebody's saying, "Hey, boss, I want to go do a trip out here"? What would you tell them?
Summer in Italy.
Summer in Italy.
That's the best thing you can do.
Really?
It's amazing fly fishing, amazing people, amazing environments, scenery, amazing food. Such a nice place to be, and world-class fly fishing, and not that expensive.
And not that expensive. You could probably find a similar thing like the holiday houses or something similar.
Yeah, but also campsites and
Oh, you can do the camp. So you could do the van. You could do the Italy van thing.
van thing in Italy is really really okay. Yeah,
Oh, perfect.
and actually also staying in the wild. I mean, most of the time I stay near climbing areas. Climbers are van lifers in Europe, and they know where to stay.
So Italy, yeah, it's just easier. It's going to be warmer the summertime. So when in the summertime, there's probably people traveling, but what would you recommend timing again? When to head over there?
From June till September, October.
Anything's good then.
Yeah, maybe June can be challenging with some snow melt, but there's always a place to fish. And actually, they have a lot of webcams, so you can check the conditions in the rivers from your computer, and you can decide where to fish.
Right. Okay. And this would be like the Dolomites you mentioned. That's kind of
Yeah,
this part of where
yeah,
you'd be heading the Dolomites.
yeah.
Okay. Good. And then it'd be a trout focused thing. You could get where would you do that? So the van thing, if you wanted to do the van thing, is there a resource there you could track that down?
Yeah, I use the Park for Night app.
Oh yeah, that would have it.
Yeah, and also climbing app 27 Cracks. You find the climbing areas, and there's always a camp spot near a climbing area. That's quite easy. And there's a lot of climbing there, so there are a lot of camp spots.
Okay. And then where would be a good place to fly into if you're coming in? Where would be the best?
Everywhere in Italy is okay. Austria is also, or Switzerland.
Switzerland. So you can
Yeah,
go into Bern. Is it Bern?
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, or Zurich or Geneva.
So it really doesn't matter. You can
Yeah,
fly anywhere and then just figure out like
yeah,
we're going to the Dolomites, just do
or
some traveling around Switzerland.
yeah. Actually, everything that's near the Alps is okay, and distances are not that big in Europe. if you compare it to where you're used to.
Yeah. So driving from Germany to Italy is probably only not few hours, whatever, 5-6 hours.
Yeah, Munich is 4 hours from the Dolomites. So you cross 3 countries, Germany, Austria, and you go into Italy, but it's only 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, if the traffic is not that crazy. But yeah.
Gotcha. This is awesome. I think Italy sounds really cool just because of the camping, because it allows you to be able to stay in the van, do some fishing. And then, so if we take it into the Dolomites, what is that? So we're setting up for that. Is there a fly shop or a resource somebody could dig into to get more information on where to go, things like that?
Fishing Trentino is a website. They have a lot of information. If you search for fly fishing Trentino or fly fishing Dolomites on internet, you find a lot. And one of the nicest things is that one day you can go up into the mountains to a lake or to a small stream. There are really that nice blue small streams up in the mountains with white gravel bottoms, and you see fish everywhere, most small fish. And the next day you stay on a really big river trying to catch one of those big marble trouts. There's so much to fish, and it's all close to each other. And actually, wherever you stay, you can go up and down. And if you have the fishing clubs, they have the license or the permits to fish, the day tickets, and you can fish hundreds of kilometers with those day tickets, 100 kilometers of river.
Yeah. Okay. So you basically get your ticket, your license essentially, and it allows you to a section of river to fish.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I'm looking at ItalyOnTheFly.com, which has some information, but there's probably a bunch of resources. Okay. And then it's just trout fishing, right? I mean, you get up there, you got all your species, and there's some pike too. So are there any pike in this area? Where would you be tracking down pike?
Yeah, but I think the pike is not a summer fish. As soon as the water temperatures are high, the pike is going deep into the lakes. That will be hard.
Yeah.
But and there's so much trout that, for me, trout is the fish to catch there.
So you like trout. So if you had to compare your trout fishing in Italy versus sea run browns over in Denmark, which one?
Start in spring in Denmark, go to Italy, and then
get both
to Denmark again. Welcome to van life. Yeah.
That's right. Hit it both up. And then, so where are you guys heading now? So you've been traveling. We can see your journey now. You were down up north and you headed down to Greece. So when are you going to start your trek back up north?
I think in March. The fishing will start in March again. I will go to Bosnia, I think, or Montenegro, Macedonia. I will see, but more the Balkan, the southeastern part of Europe will be my next destination. But never been there fishing, so.
Today's episode is sponsored by Chota Outdoor, legendary comfort and equipment you can trust. Chota insists on the finest material and craftsmanship to assure you have the highest standards of quality. You'll feel in control of the elements in your Chota gear. Every product is solidly backed with a no-nonsense warranty against defects. And I have a family connection to Chota over the years. Back in the shop, the old shop, my dad carried Chota, and he wore those proudly with confidence. And now I'm carrying on that tradition, supporting Chota, and I'm very excited about the new products coming out this year and working with Chota in 2023. I'm pretty rough on my gear and find myself putting a lot of miles on that gear and being pretty rough on it. So it's good to know that the Chota gear is durable, is bomber, and I don't have to worry about it. And even on those long trips, and if you have a blowout, it's not going to be a good situation. So I'm excited to keep digging into this year. Clean, comfortable, charismatic, and ready for any situation you can throw at it. You can head over right now to Chota Outdoor at wetflyswing.com/Chota. That's CHOTA to support this podcast and a great family company right now. Okay, now back to the show. How do you set up your plans of where you guys are, heading? Is it more focused on fishing? Is it focused on, I want to hit these countries, these cities? How are you guys planning?
Actually, we try to live near mountains. That's what we try to do. So it's climbing and fishing. And most of the areas where you can climb, there's also some fishing. And most of the places where is some fishing, there's also some climbing. So that's a good combination. And yeah.
Yep. So that's right. So that's why Italy is great. You guys actually climbed in around like the Alps and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, in the north of Italy, Arco is the place to be in Europe for sport climbing. And it's also the place where a few World Cup fly fishing or World Championships fly fishing were.
Oh, it is.
The river Sarca and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the Giese, small river over there, it's really good. And the Nose, to name some rivers there, and it's all different rivers, all amazing fly fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool because we dig into the Team US, well, just the European and the Team USA, the whole, comps. And it's pretty interesting because, it's super. I mean, the countries over there, the teams are great, right? I mean, over the years, I don't know, like Spain, right, is well known. France, you got all these countries. Is fly fishing must still be a super tiny niche over there, or does it feel different around that part of Europe?
No, you'll find some people fly fishing there. There's a lot of fly fishing, and actually, one of the funny things, the harder it is to catch your trout, the better the teams are. So Spain and France, it's crazy hard to catch fish, and they do really well in competitions.
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And Italy is a little bit easier. You can find that there's more no-kill fishery in Italy, for example.
Gotcha. Okay. And you're going around on, like you said, so you're just going to kind of work over the next year or say two. Do you have plans to stay in? I'm just looking around. I mean, you've probably hit a lot of the countries, but are you going to stay into that part of Europe, or do you guys start exploring out into, say, other parts of the world in the van?
Yeah, I have a dream to go to the United States with a van.
Uh-huh.
I hiked the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, nice.
So I have seen all the states in the east.
Oh, man, you guys should do it. That would be, I mean, it sounds pretty great, where you're at as well. But I mean, obviously we have campers and there's all sorts of places, national forests, places you could just turn off and, yeah.
I hiked the Appalachian Trail with a fly rod in my backpack.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I fished amazing fishery in Maine, caught a 21-inch brook trout.
Yeah, wow, yeah, you got the brookies.
A fish of a lifetime, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Appalachian Mountains, I walked the whole thing and...
You walked the whole Appalachian Trail?
Yeah, in 2018.
And that took you, how long did that take you?
6 months.
Oh, wow, 6 months.
Yeah.
Jeez. Amazing. So how are you doing all this? You must be, I'm guessing you're retired, or how's that look?
I keep myself poor.
Yeah, there you go. So are you working, or are you just kind of, this is a thing you don't have a lot of expenses, so you're able to do this stuff?
I worked for a lot of retail companies in the past, but at the moment I'm a professional fly tyer.
There you go.
So I try to sell some flies. I mean, van life is not expensive, and selling flies is a nice way to earn some money.
Yep. And how do you sell flies? Is this something where, I mean, obviously there's flies all over going around the world, back and forth. We just talked to Umpqua Feather Merchants, and the product designer told us about, we got into fly, right? I mean, but on your level, how does that work? Where do you find people to buy flies?
I have an Etsy store.
Oh, yeah.
And at the moment I tie a lot of Euro nymphs, and I have an Instagram, and quite some people find me also from the United States.
Right. What's your Etsy channel called?
The fly tying guy. It's also the Instagram.
Yeah, fly tying guy. Okay, we'll put a link out to that in the show notes as well. So you essentially, and if people call you up, you could tie up whatever, or do you focus on Euros?
Yeah, I'm specialized in Euro nymphs, dry flies, CDC flies, and things like that. They're not on the Etsy store yet, but they will come soon. I love tying foam flies and pike streamers, but they will be on Etsy somewhere in the next few months.
Okay. And then if people, and are you shipping flies? How does that look? Are you shipping flies around the world, or how do you send that?
Yeah, the guy from the post office here is a friend of mine. I saw him so many times the last few weeks, shipping flies from Greece all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty easy. So you basically, in your off time, tie some flies and fill an order, stop by the post office, drop them off.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, get the payment and head out. God, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like tying flies and also tying orders. It's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah. And do you have like a station in the van? You just kind of pull out your kit and you got it all. That must be because, right, sometimes you see people with these fly tied areas and it takes up a whole room. How do you balance? How do you organize that?
Yeah, I have actually a big box with all my fly tying gear, and my vise is on the desk. I've got the table. It's big enough to do this, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And on your van, just touching on that, back to the van. So are you plugging in most of the time or is this like solar? How are you guys doing the power thing?
Yeah, I've got 2 solar panels and yeah, an all-in-one electric box. So it's plug and play, and yeah, that gives us also the need to find places with good weather because of the sun. But that's okay.
Right. So you got the solar. So solar keeps you
Yeah,
going. If you have good sun, that thing will power pretty much everything you need.
yeah.
So you don't have really a generator you ever pull out.
No, sometimes we have to drive a little bit,
Oh, to charge it.
yeah, to charge it. But I think that happens twice in the last 6 months. So yeah,
There you go. And what is that thing for gas mileage? We're trying to do the trends, just roughly. I'm curious on this. Probably, well, I'm guessing it's a big van, so it's probably only getting, yeah, you're getting what, 20 miles a gallon, or I guess what is that in the conversion?
1 liter for 15 kilometers. But yeah, gas is quite expensive in Europe.
Yeah, kilometers. Yeah, so 1 liter per 15 kilometers.
Yeah, but gas is expensive in Europe. Much more expensive than in the United States.
That's right. Yeah, it is more expensive. Right,
Yeah,
quite a bit more.
yeah. We pay $2 for a liter. That's quite normal. What's the price in the US now?
It was higher for quite a while, and now it's back down. I mean, we got up to some places. I think it was $6, maybe higher, $7 per gallon, and now it's down to $3, three whatever 50 per gallon.
Oh, nice. It's half the price of it here.
Yeah, it's gone in half, but yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody that was telling me about that. It was you know, don't have to get into the politics and stuff, but his politics were a little bit different. But he was making the argument that some of the stuff that was put in place by the government here was to try to essentially put things on the cars to require better emissions, right? So there's not as much pollution. But he was saying that, well, because of that, it actually it decreased the fuel efficiency. So now cars aren't as efficient. So you're actually burning more gas, right? You're spending more on gas. So he was kind of making that argument. But again, I think it's one of those things where we've got to get more efficient. We got to get better, less polluting. I think you guys are kind of ahead of the game in that, right? Pollution and things like that.
Yeah, and cars are much smaller in Europe than in the States. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're not driving around gigantic trucks, right? Huge pickup trucks.
No, what we call a big car is a small car for you.
That's right. Yeah, it is a different deal. So, okay, well, good. Well, we got, so I think we're hitting two places, right? We've got this, I'm kind of thinking Italy, I'm thinking Denmark, and there's so much more. And obviously we're not going to, chunk it all off today, but let's just kind of wrap this up as we go back to Italy with the fishing. If you're getting ready for the trout fishing, assuming just a basic trout rod, what else should we be thinking about as far as, gear, flies, locations, things like that?
I use an Euronymph rod in Italy a lot.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's an amazing place for Euronymphing, but also a 7-foot Afma Dry small short rod.
7 foot 3 weight or something, or even smaller.
Yeah, and a 9-foot 4 weight. Actually, everything you can use for trout, 4-weight, 5-weight, 3-weight. You can find places where to use them. Some rivers are small. The River Giese, for example, is one of my favorite rivers. It's a lot of no-kill areas, a lot of fish. Small river. It's 7-foot, 8-foot rod is perfect for dry fly fishing there, actually. And yeah, we use a lot of dry flies, caddis flies, the well-known caddis flies you also use. That's also good here. And some small bait is so size 20 and 18 dry baitis mayflies. That's so dry olives. It's also great.
Yeah. So dry flies are good. So have both setups.
Yeah. And also in summer hopper fishing, for example, it's also possible. There are not many places in Europe where you can do that, but in those rivers in Italy, it can be really good.
Okay. And to fill the box, if you're getting your box prepared for Italy, Switzerland, for fishing that, what would be we talked about a couple of resources online. Where'd you go if you wanted to say, okay, this is what I need to get on my box as far as dry flies?
Dry flies, mostly the famous caddis patterns are okay in size 16, 14, 12 in brown and gray and yellow. And nothing different from what you use in the States. For mayflies, because they can be quite selective, small olives, our European blue-winged olive, that's more pale yellow fly, also the spinners, the orange spinners and rusty brown spinners in sizes from size 18 till 14. That's actually what I use most.
Yep, perfect. And I just looked in Google and I got the global fly fisher, Martin Joergensen. I'm not sure. Yeah, so he's been on and he's got some good resources out there on his site, doesn't he?
There's a lot of information on that site. It's an amazing thing he created. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put a link to that episode. We had him back. Who are some other people out there? Martin's, a big name around in that part of the world. Who are other people that you kind of look to as, people that have helped you, mentors or whatever, maybe just people online?
John Roberts is a nice guy. He just wrote a book about, or his second or third book about grayling fishing in Europe.
Oh, nice.
His flies are amazing. His books are amazing. I like what he's doing. I know Hans van Klinken. He's
That's the Klinkhamer?
Yeah, that's the guy from the Klinkhamer. And so learned a lot from him. Yeah, Claus Eriksen for the sea trout fishing in Denmark. And there's a guy in Italy, Matteo Lavezzini is his name. He has a small fly shop in the north of Italy and a YouTube channel. Good information. You can always call him or send him an email. He's also a guide. He's an amazing guide.
Oh, good. Can you remind us again of his name, Matteo?
Matteo Lavezzini.
Okay, that's going to be a hard one to.
Yeah, I will send you the link.
Yeah, send me a link. And the YouTube channel is just probably under his name.
Yeah, Lavezzinifly is the YouTube channel, I think, and some good videos about the fishing in the north of Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's a great resource. So that gives us a little bit of some knowledge there. Well, I think, we obviously touched here on some of the state. Anything we want to kind of shed a little more light on as far as that part of the country, fishing of some, it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed, right? Because there's so much. But we didn't dig in deep into pike. Maybe we could leave that for another one. Grayling. What other species are out there that you really love other than the browns?
I love grayling fishing. There's a lot of grayling in Europe. In the Netherlands, where I'm from, there's only one small trout stream, totally private in the south of the Netherlands. So we had to fish for other fish. And the pike fishing in the Netherlands is quite good. Actually, big pike. And because the Netherlands is 50% of the Netherlands is below sea level, and we have a lot of canals. We take the water out from the canals with the windmills. That's actually the story about the Netherlands.
Now, what do you do?
There are a lot of canals in the Netherlands.
Canal, the canals and all throughout. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of windmills, and in the past, those windmills were used to get the water from the land into the sea. That's why the Netherlands is for 50% below sea level.
Oh, right, because if you didn't do that, it would be all flooded. There'd be no land, dry land. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And because all that water, there's a lot of pike fishing.
Oh, so pikes are coming into these canals all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And also big lakes, and actually, so there's a lot of nice pike fishing in the Netherlands.
Yeah. What is the Netherlands? It's obviously known. Amsterdam is, maybe the most well-known, of anywhere around. But what is so cool about the Netherlands? What makes that such a cool place to go to?
Actually, I don't know.
Really?
No, I love the Netherlands.
Yeah. So it's not you're not getting as much of the natural beauty as you would in, say, Denmark.
No, it's a really busy country. There are 17 million people in a small country.
Yeah, gotcha. So maybe Amsterdam isn't the best place if you're thinking of outdoors to fly into. Maybe fly into to Copenhagen or maybe down in Italy.
Yeah, it depends because flying to Amsterdam is quite cheap. That's one of the nice things, and you can fly from Amsterdam to almost every country in Europe. But when I go to the United States, I never pay more than $500 for a return ticket.
No kidding.
Yeah, if you search on the internet, and that's because all the planes are going to Amsterdam. So it is possible to find some quite cheap tickets to go to Europe, and yeah, and also it's quite safe to rent a car in the Netherlands.
Oh, it is. Could you rent a car in the Netherlands and just go? I mean, rent it there and just travel all around Denmark, all around Europe.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that'd be the thing to do.
Yeah.
So probably use Amsterdam as just to save some money as your main hub. Come in there, get your car, hop in, and then just travel out, and then just like you said, then follow your journey. We could follow your trail, right, where you've gone.
Yeah, and in 8 hours you are in Denmark. In 12 hours you are in the north of Italy. You can go actually wherever you want. There are ferries to the United Kingdom, to England and Scotland and things like that from the Netherlands.
Oh, I see.
It's actually quite a central airport. The name is Schiphol, Amsterdam Airport.
In Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Okay, this is good. No, I think that obviously there's going to be a lot of exploratory stuff and research that anybody could do. But essentially, like what you've talked about today here sounds like a pretty doable trip. Like really, you know what I mean? Like there's lots of places you could travel around the world that probably are more work than getting here. You know what I mean? Like there's places in South America, all sorts of places. But this feels for you, and you've flown it, that it's pretty doable.
Yeah, and I think that the European culture is nice to see. I think for you, and also all those different countries, and name all the reasons why so many people come to Europe. It's a really civilized.
Yep, and the history. It's civilized, but it has the cool history.
There's a lot of history. Yeah.
Yeah, the old buildings and the castles. You go to the plate and all this stuff.
Yeah, I've been to the Acropolis in Athens last week, so it's more than 2,000 years old.
Right.
Things like that.
Right. Gosh, it must be. What is it in the summertime? So obviously it's going to be busier in the summertime, but is it still, if you were to fly into Amsterdam in, July and then start traveling around, it's not like you're going to be busy everywhere. It'll still feel pretty good. You'll be able to get away from some people.
Yeah, in the Netherlands and especially in Amsterdam, it can be hard. Amsterdam is extremely busy.
Yes, busy. But get up to Denmark, July in Denmark, you can find some places that are good.
The west of the Netherlands is one big city, and as soon as you're out of Amsterdam, you can drive in 7-8 hours to Denmark, for example, or into France or whatever.
Yeah, perfect. It's right there. I mean, you got France, Germany, Denmark, and then as you go east, where is the place where you go and you just kind of Europe more gets into Eastern? What's that break? Because you start to get it eventually into Ukraine, right? A whole different probably politics and stuff. Where is that transition where you probably, you know what I mean? Where's that happen?
Yeah, Germany is in the center, and everything east from Germany is Eastern Europe. And southeast, there are a lot of small countries. In the east, you have Poland, for example. There's also some good fishing, but I've never been there. But
no, haven't been. And then you get into further, and then you're into kind of Belarus, and then Ukraine, and then literally then you're into Russia, which is a whole, obviously a different deal.
Not the best place to be at the moment, I think.
Russia. It's interesting because you're literally at Russia is right there. That just shows you how big this thing is, because you're at Russia, and we were talking about, maybe doing, we had a guest that talked about Russia on the we were on the whole other side of Russia, right, where we were talking about going into fish for some of those steelhead, the Kamchatka stuff.
Yeah, that's far from here.
That shows you how big. That literally shows you how crazy big Russia is, because it goes from literally where you are all the way across the globe to Kamchatka, which isn't far from where I am, and we're on the other side of the planet.
Actually, only a few miles from Alaska.
Yeah,
that's literally a few miles.
Yeah, is that a spot? So here's one. So I mean, you want to get back to the U.S. and maybe do the van life, but when you look around the world, other than that, when you think fishing, what would be a place or two you want to hit?
Patagonia, but also Montana and Yellowstone and all the states over there. I fished a lot in Alberta and BC, near Fernie and Calgary. I really love fishing there. It's an amazing place to fish. Yeah, but there's New Zealand. That's maybe bucket list thing number one. But
that's right. Yeah, we had that episode. We talked recently about that. So I think you've been listening to the podcast. Where did you first, have you listened to this podcast before? I couldn't remember.
Yeah. I think I listened almost all your podcasts.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you remember where you first tracked us down?
I think the sea trout with, or I don't know actually.
That's good. No, I mean, that is amazing. That's the cool thing is that, so when you listen to the stuff we have, because we have a lot of US focused stuff, I mean, we've sprinkled in some things in Europe, but it hasn't been a lot. So you kind of like listening to some of the stuff that, we've been doing. I mean, how does that play out in Europe? So you're over there, but is it helpful for kind of some of the stuff you're doing there?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's funny, I listened a lot, for example, to the podcast about Euro nymphing, because Euro nymphing is quite new for you. And also, I think it's really a big thing in the United States at the moment.
It is. We're literally putting together a Euro nymphing school over here now.
Yeah, nice. That's amazing. Yeah. And actually, they're doing that in Europe too. There's a small brand of good fly rods, Adam rods. They have a school. I read something about that, and it's more a competition thing in Europe, and more people are using Euro nymph techniques at the moment, or start doing it. But yeah, it's a nice way to catch some fish.
Yeah, it's effective. It's definitely effective.
And I think also for us, it's quite new.
Oh, it is.
So, yeah, it's a little bit. There were techniques in the past that were the same. I mean, it all started with Czech and Polish competition anglers, and then the French. But actually, Frank Sawyer, that's one of the most amazing fishermen from the past, in 1950 or something. He was a river keeper on the Avon in the south of England, and he used actually Euro nymph technique to catch the grayling, because there were too much grayling in those rivers, and he had to remove the grayling to give space for brown trout. And he removed them by using actually Euro nymph techniques with Sawyer nymphs and killer bugs, and it's actually the same.
That's right. So Sawyer was the guy, he created the pheasant tail, right?
Yeah. And one of the other flies is the killer bug, and that's a really good. Actually, when you tie a killer bug and you put tungsten bead on it, you have a really good fly. And actually, it looks like the waltz worm.
Oh yeah,
something like that. So it's really good flies. But he used the same techniques to remove all the grayling from his river. So it's also quite old, but
yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there and maybe take it out of here. The 2-minute drill is the little exercise I've been doing to try to force us to get out of here on schedule. So do you have a couple minutes here? We'll do a quick little rapid fire.
Of course.
Yeah, good. So let's set the timer and see if we can make it. To this date, I don't think we've made it on the 2-minute yet, but we're still working on it. So let's. So you got one rod. What is your weight, length and weight?
I think a 6 weight, 9 foot. So you can do some streamer fishing where that's possible in rivers, and fishing the Baltic Sea, sea trout, things like that. Yeah, some small pike fishing, you can do it. You can actually do a lot with a 6 weight.
Okay, and you're in Italy fishing there. What is your one fly that you're going to have?
I think a small olive bait is mayfly, dry fly.
Yep, betas. Okay. What would be a tip? What would be one tip you would have for somebody who's fishing there in Italy? Maybe they're not hitting fish. What do you tell them if they're not having success?
In Italy, go to a good place to eat in Italy.
Oh yeah, take a break.
Yeah, take a break, and
that's good advice.
Yeah, and you can always ask some guides there for help. That's also possible.
Yeah, so people are guiding there.
There are guides, yeah. Trentino, the tourist information, they have guides, and you can find them on the internet. And always worth for a day fishing with them and ask them to bring you to some water. And yeah,
That's right. We'll do that. We'll definitely hit that up. And so I think you mentioned your trip. So maybe New Zealand, if you had one trip to choose that you can go anywhere, money isn't an issue. Just is Italy, or is that the trip?
yeah. I think hiking the Tyer, that's the long distance trail in New Zealand, and then with a rod in my backpack and fishing and hiking, fishing, hiking. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, fishing, hiking, that's it. That's the perfect thing. And you've got the climbing. That's what's cool about what you have going, is that it mixes perfectly. The hiking, the climbing, the fishing. You can get all your stuff in your backpack and just go hike into on the trail, right, for months or weeks.
Yeah, and it's all in the mountains. That's amazing.
Perfect. All right, Bas, I guess this is, we'll send everybody out to the fly tying guy. That's the_fly_tying_guy on Instagram. If they want to connect with you, we'll put links to all this in the show notes. But just want to thank you for putting this together today.
Thank you.
And giving us our first, light of, Western Europe. This has been amazing. So we'll hopefully keep in touch and send some people your way if they have questions. And we'll keep in touch with you. Talk to you soon.
Of course. Thank you very much. It was amazing to speak with you. Great honor to be in your show. Thank you.
There it is, wetflyswing.com/443. 443. Check it out right there. You can check out some of the photos, videos, and things that Bas talked about today and dig in a little bit deeper. Quick heads up, the schooloffishing.co, schooloffishing.co right now. Check it out, and you can find out which trips we have coming up next. This is the easiest way to do that. Quick listener shout out before we get out of here today. Joseph Burns. Joseph Burns checked in by email, and he checked in and said, Dave, huge fan of the podcast and the content you are creating. Your podcasts have significantly helped me learn and grow as a fly fisher, especially when I have long commutes for work and I am limited to listening to podcasts and audiobooks. Thank you for the time and dedication in the fly fishing world. Amazing. Joseph, that is super amazing. And actually, I think you go by Joe Burns. Shout out to Joe. Appreciate you for checking in and letting me know. If you want to get a shout out on this podcast episode and find out if we can put together a episode for you, you can check in with me, Dave, at wetflyswing.com anytime, and let me know, and I will give you a shout out. Would love to hear from you if you are new or it's been a while since you checked in. Tomorrow, stay tuned. Tomorrow, Steve Potter is here, and this is a good one. He digs into fly tying and selecting hooks, and Steve's just a great, entertaining guy. He's got a bunch of great stories from his military life and just all around. We dig into Daiichi tomorrow. It's a good one, so stay tuned. Click that play button. Just let this one roll out at the end, and if it's in the future, you're going to hear me jump right back into it with Steve Potter, the magic of podcasting and podcasts. That's all I got for you. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet and get out of here and just wish you a happy afternoon. Or if it's evening, I hope you have a great evening and morning. If it's morning, wherever you are in the world, whether you're in Europe, in the United States, and Canada, maybe you are in one of those other countries that we know of and love, but haven't heard from you. If you are in a country other than the U.S., Canada, or one of the European countries, I would love to hear from you right now. Send me an email, really simple, dave@wetflyswing.com. Give it a shot. That's it. dave@wetflyswing.com. Let's do it. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.